Hey guys, so I did something crazy today because my boyfriend and I were talking about all the reasons, I dropped out of school and how they didn't provide me with the best services, being a disabled individual, being a person who struggles with mental illness. And he was like, you should call them out for that. And I was like, well, I guess I could write something on social media. And he's like, yeah, do they have a page? And so I did that, and and I spent an hour writing a post on their page, calling them out for the shit they, claim was my fault, but was really their fault on on their part. They didn't provide the services that they promised. And it didn't go through. I don't know why I didn't screenshot the actual post or anything, but my boyfriend was like, you should, talk on YouTube, get it out there, if anything. So I'm going to be talking about some of those reasons I left the school and why I'm never going back and how they didn't deliver. And he's going to help me by asking me some questions. Do you want me to start, or? Yeah, you said that.
I was just kidding, but okay.
So I've been deaf since I was born. In my right ear, I have no hearing since I was born, and then in my left ear, I've had hearing since I was 4 years old, and then I got a hearing aid, and it's aided to this day. So some of you might be thinking, she doesn't sound deaf. Well, that's because I have 4 years of language development, and so I do fine, pretty okay off of that. But the fact that I was homeschooled because of my disability, that was one of the reasons that my parents homeschooled me and a couple other of my deaf siblings. But I was...
Why do you say so much?
I do that when I'm thinking. I'm not good at verbal.
I'm just kidding.
I can write really well, but I am not very good at just saying what I need to say, like planning it, and it has to be written first. So.
Okay, so oh, you got me doing it now.
Mhm.
What was the major issue you had with Malone?
Yes, Malone University is the school that I'm calling out. I went there from fall of 2014 to the end of fall of 2017. So that's 3.5 years. I dropped out after that fall semester. People would say I dropped out, but I didn't really. I'm taking time off school because I have depression. I was told that it wasn't really depression when I was in high school all the way up to my first year of college. They were like, you're just thinking too negative or negatively, but you really don't have a problem. You need to start thinking positively. And saying that I'm thinking too much about it. But I really was depressed for longer than I probably remember. So being deaf and being depressed were two major things that affected how well I did school. Malone University, every school in the U.S. needs to have services for the disabled so they can get as good of an education as those who aren't disabled. We are not less. We just, we have more challenges that other people don't have, and that doesn't mean that we can't reach our goals.
Okay, so how...
I know I didn't get there yet. I was venting.
How did they affect you?
They affected me because they, like in the classroom setting, I sit up front to hear the professor. I sit up front to, like, if I had a recorder, which is what I ended up using over a university telling me that they would have a transcriber in class giving me the notes live, which would have helped because I need, like, I do fine with getting the general idea of things. Like, I do fine by sentence by sentence. But what I needed in the fields I was going for was word by word. So they decided to train people with, just using a regular laptop to transcribe my notes. And then eventually that one person had more students to help out, and so they couldn't make it to all my classes, then none of my classes, and then I ended up using a recorder when I felt like I wanted to. Because then I would have to send it to them, they would transcribe it, get it back to me in a few days, and then I would get the education. Realistically, I got the education that regular students got 3 days later, and the professors in the school expected me to keep at the same pace as the regular students. That is not fair. That is not right.
Yeah, of course, because, you gotta, like, keep up. You're like the ugly duckling that's always behind. And
and so that didn't help. And then me being depressed, trying different antidepressants, I was in bed many days. I couldn't get up and go to class. That's not embarrassing to say. It frustrates me because I did not ask for this mental disorder. Nobody asked for it, and it is not an act. Like, I needed help, and they kept telling me, you need to make it to class, you need to get help, you need to want it more, which is stupid. When you have a disability, like, it's kind of like telling someone who's deaf, which I am, that they can't. Sorry, I get loud when I am passionate or, on a roll. Someone can't tell you because you're deaf, you need to want to hear more, and then you will. That is basically what people tell me with my depression. So those two things were not accommodated well, and like in these 3.5 years, I became the worst person that I've ever been. Like, I did not find myself. I found, slowly I found myself. I know who I am now because I got through all that shit, but it took all that, 3 years of not being a person that I want to be, and surviving, not thriving, and being okay with a little bit that the world gave me, or, that the Christian system gave me. When I first started going to that school, I was excited to become a stronger Christian because I also grew up in a Christian home, but I do not want to be associated with Christianity. I do not want to be associated with God or the church. I am not a Christian because growing up, I grew up in the system, not the system, but the church. And then I went to a Christian school because I thought it would give me a better education. Don't do that. If you want to get an education, then you pick where you want to go get your education. If you want to go to a Christian school, cool for you. But do not do it because someone tells you to. Do not do it because you think that is the best option for you. That is not true. There is a lot of education out there, and you need to get every ounce of it. You are allowed to strive for anything you want. And just going to a Christian school is not going to get you everything you need to know. Eventually, you're going to have to get outside that Christian bubble, which people don't get. So, those are the 3 major things. Thank you for showing me Christianity is not something I want to mess with. It is not something that I think completes my life. And then they, showed me how crappy they are as a school, and they don't have finances for anything other than their athletes. So, of course, why, as a deaf individual with a mental health disorder, why would I expect to be treated as equal to some of the perfect athletes, huh? Like, seriously, that's what students think nowadays that drop out because they cannot work at the same, it's just not an option to be at school. And so they think it's them, that they shouldn't go to school anymore, when really it's the school not accommodating them right. Like, that is a big issue. Dropouts should be honored, they should be told, wow, you were really brave to do that. Like, it's not embarrassing to drop out of a school that you know that it isn't fit for you, that doesn't treat you right. You need to be treated right in order to get your money's worth. You're paying these people to go and get an education that will get you in a career you want to be in. Many students drop out, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of myself because now I can focus on my mental health, find schools that accommodate my disability, my mental health, and the career of my choice. I can financially support myself and my life, and just figure out what I need to do next, because school is not always the best option right out of high school. I'm telling you that point blank. Like, it's not for everyone. Yes, if you know what you're doing and you know you're going to pass college because you have no challenges at all, then go ahead. All right? But I'm not going to do that. But I am telling you now that I am not a dropout. We are not dropouts. If you don't want to go back to school, that's cool. You found something that can, a life, supporting life wage. But those of us who want to go back to school, when we say we're taking time off school, that's what we really mean. And don't you dare laugh at us. That is just not, like, if we mean it, we will go back. And I am going to go back, and I'm going to become a lawyer, and you guys are going to have to look out for me, because that's what it is.